Mira Business FM, Dubai's home of business radio.
This is Mira Business FM. It's the morning drive, and we're talking precious metals now, continuing their ascent, exclamation mark, or not. What's happening? Jeff Rhodes is here. He knows far more than I do. He's also the CEO of Goldstrom Advisory and has forgotten more about gold than I've ever learned. So, first of all, Jeff, Happy New Year. We can still do it. It's the 9th.
Yes, Happy New Year, Tim.
So nice to see you. How are you? You look very well. I have to
It's
say.
very good. Yeah, thank you. I had a good break over festive period, and
Not writing as many reports.
no, I decided because I was in the UK in the time zone, I would have a break from doing my daily report that I've been doing probably since 1978, honestly.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll have a break because timings and so on, 4-hour time difference.
So you would have had to get up at what, three in the
o'clock.
morning?
Yeah,
to...
3 o'clock. 3 in the morning, and probably about 3 degrees outside. And I thought it was a good idea. But, you know, after a few days, I really missed it. So talk about being sad. I was thinking, you know, my day wasn't complete because I hadn't started with my daily market report. And I didn't know where the gold price was. And I just thought, I'm never doing this again.
Yeah.
I'm back.
Well, it's funny because I think with you, I think it's something that you need to do. And I don't mean that to cast aspersions in any way, but I think you not doing a daily report on gold or not existing in that universe, something's wrong. There's a warp in the space-time continuum.
That was a little bit of a look into the future that I didn't like.
No.
I didn't like. So anyway, I'm back. Gold has been interesting. It's been really, really volatile within a tight trading range. And I kind of called this early on, that I felt that in the first 2 or 3 weeks of the new year, there would be a kind of jockeying for position. And the fund managers looking at where they're going to allocate their investments for this year, they take some time to look. I've been reading about a kind of reallocation of commodity indexes and so on and so forth, because gold, silver, platinum, and palladium prices up so much last year, it kind of caused a little bit of an imbalance, if you like, in the cross-commodity investment field. Yeah. So there's a lot of talk about that, and there's a feeling that's been growing a bit that there would be some liquidation in all 4 precious metals, but particularly in silver, my favorite, that I don't agree with, but we have to recognize that that talk is in the market. And we've seen silver as high as 84, back to around 74. So it's a $10 drop, fairly big drop, and it's currently hovering around 77, 78. It's possible. A retracement, even back to 60, is possible. But I still stick my view for this year. And with Trump, Donald Trump, President Trump, in power, and trying to make, you know, the Southern America part of America, and this kind of development can only be good for precious metals. And so while we've got this jockeying for position at the moment, the outcome, I think, will be a resumption of the various bull markets.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you for a bit more detail on that in a second.
Sure.
But so you mentioned Donald Trump, the president. He said on Tuesday, Caracas and Washington reached a deal to export, $2 billion worth of Venezuelan crude to the United States. Lots and lots of commentary around the geopolitical situation, of course. But you kind of alluded to it there. But what is the precious metals universe making of events in the US and Venezuela?
Look, it is a popular, it's a bit of a myth, really, that really gold is driven by geopolitics. It is to a certain extent in the short term, because, of course, geopolitical issues create uncertainty. and uncertainty is the driver of the gold price, generally.
The flight to safety.
It is the flight to safety.
Yeah.
And so I do think it's had an impact and will continue to have an impact, but not as much as, say, the Fed cutting interest rates or commentaries on inflation. Economics is much more of a driver in the longer term for precious metals than geopolitics, although a factor because of uncertainty. But let me just throw something else into our discussion, Tim. Okay. Let me ask you a question.
Please.
Which part of the world is the biggest producer? Which region of the world is the biggest producer of silver?
The biggest producer of silver? I have no idea. You want me to just
have a
I'll
guess.
just magic something up. Biggest producer of silver.
Not country, but region.
What region? South America.
Exactly. You've been listening. You've been learning, Tim.
I listen to you.
Yeah, I'm looking for someone to help me. Look, and the fact that the American action in Venezuela, the unspeakable action, which I just really can't believe. But the biggest producers are Mexico, Peru, and then there's silver being produced in Venezuela, in Argentina, but generally across the South American continent, big producer of silver.
Okay.
Now, the big driver of silver in 2025 was the realization that more silver was being consumed than produced. And it ended up with silver going from $28 to $84 in 1 year. So if we've got this uncertainty coming, geopolitical uncertainty coming into South America generally, that could impact supply of silver from South America to the US and to the rest of the world. It could, which adds to this lack of available supply to meet the demand that's clearly in silver for good. Because what silver is used in with the solar panels, it's used in AI, it's used generally in electronics, it's used in medical. So the demand, the industrial demand for silver is only going one way, whereas production of silver is limited at best, and particularly if you have South America kind of not producing, or there's because of geopolitics, that is a big issue. I don't think enough is being made of that.
I think that makes an awful lot of sense. That seems like common sense thinking to me.
There's not a lot of common sense in global markets.
Common sense ain't common is the old phrase.
It's right,
isn't it?
uncommon sense.
Yeah, okay. No, that's I appreciate your theory. I'm still holding on to $125 as your prediction.
I was misquoted as $150. At the DMCC conference back in November, I forgot about this, but I was cornered to have an interview with one of the Indian agencies. And I must have been in a state of euphoria because I said, yeah, definitely 150. And my real number is 125. So I don't mind. 125 to 150 works for me. So
it also works that when people talk about precious metals, you enter a state of euphoria. There's something that's right in the world about that with you. Can I head back to gold for a second?
Yeah,
because there's a couple of things I wanted to ask you. In your report, I read your reports. I probably need to get out more, but there you are. Tuesday this week, you said that here's the quote, sense that gold can now consolidate between 4,400, 4,500 ahead of Friday's non-US US non-farm payroll data, an economic metric that is closely watched by the Fed when determining its monetary policy. This week, Monday, 4400. This was 8:10 in the morning. Wednesday, 7:36 in the morning, 4476. Thursday, 7:56 in the morning, 4440. Friday this morning, 4465. You've been shining your crystal ball, would be my observation. But it's exactly what you said it was going to be.
Yeah, to be honest with you, the high was 4,500.
45.49 was it around?
No, 4,500 this week.
Was it? Okay.
45.49 is the all-time high.
So that was that Boxing Day? That was the Boxing Day high, wasn't it?
Yeah. So over the last week, we've been, to be honest with you, it's a little bit of a finger in the air, but I guess that I have a certain feel for it, and it looked to me as though, as I said earlier, investors and traders jockeying for position, which way is this going to go? And while it's making up its mind, I felt that there would be people buying it because they think it's going to break out, and then selling it because they think it's going to be a sell-off. But actually, nothing happens. It stays in that $100 trading range, which $100 trading range in 2025 were 10 a penny. Honestly, I mean, I would say over many, many years, if you had a $100 trading range, that was a big trading range.
It was anything but 10 a penny.
In 2025, it was just, as I say, 10 a penny. And the fact that we've had within that $100 trading range all week, we're waiting for the break. It's early days, Tim. Honestly, we're 9 days into the new year. And we weren't working on the 1st or 2nd, although New York was, London wasn't. So it's only been a week that the gold market has come back to life. Over the next couple of weeks, we'll see which way it's going to go. As I say, I fancy the upside. The high in 2025, low in 2025 was on the 6th of January. So very start of the year.
Okay.
So could we have another low for the year in January? Yeah, I think we could.
That would be a bit of synchronicity, wouldn't it?
It would be.
There's a certain cosmic justice in that. 2 words for you, not disparaging words either. China gold.
Oh, yes, this is interesting. A very close friend of mine and a really, serious person in the market here called me up a couple of days ago and said, Jeff, tell me about China gold. I said, yeah, of course. Well, China is the biggest gold producer in the world. It's the biggest gold consumer in the world. You can't export bars from China. It is really influential. You've got the Shanghai Gold Exchange. He said, no. Tell me about China gold. I said, what do you mean? He said, gold, like lab diamonds, like lab gold. Tell me about lab gold. And I said, I haven't got a clue. I had never heard of it. And so I started doing some research. And indeed, there is man-made gold out of China. Now, I know the Chinese will make anything, but to make gold, and now, was that important? Apparently, to make it, you need a physical nuclear reaction. It's not, when you're making lab diamonds, it's chemical.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to make lab gold, it's physics.
So
nuclear physics.
Lab diamonds are not particularly expensive
And
to
they're not-
produce,
yeah,
are
it's-
they?
it's
And they look
chemicals.
great. It's just it's mixing stuff in a test tube. A bit more than that, but you know what I mean. But this is a very different
It
process.
is. It's like you need nuclear fusion.
Wow.
And the cost of making lab gold is exponentially more expensive than digging the gold out of the ground. So I think the threat of lab gold is not a threat. But it was really interesting to for me at the start of the year, and it's difficult to get back into the old routine. It made me chuckle, but I just thought I'd share it with you because it's just, who would have thought?
What exactly? But you said it when you came in. And I'm racking my brain thinking, I saw a headline on that somewhere. And I have to be honest, didn't read the article. But the thing about this is alchemy. This is turning base metals into gold. This is what we thought we would never be able to do.
Absolutely.
Shakespeare wrote about
this. It can be done. It can be done. So keep an eye. I mean, we never thought that China could make a decent car. Now, I was, the cars
changed.
absolutely changed. So, could it happen? I think not.
I just never
but-
thought I would see the day when you could legitimately invest in a gold bar that would be stamped "Made in China."
Well, of course, no, Tim, that's not true. Because we have lots of gold made in China in the normal way.
Mined in China and
Mined in China,
refined.
produced in China. I think
yeah.
China probably has more London good delivery accredited refiners than any other country in the world. It's massive and it's really important. But to think that they would go off at a tangent and try to make it actually in a lab and succeeding, although you need the same technology as for a nuclear bomb. So it's not really that attractive to me.
The economics are not stacking up.
They don't stack up.
You never know. In I don't know, 50 years, 100 years, maybe it will just be normal. So you need a new. Yeah, I can make you that out of gold. Maybe, who knows? Stranger things have happened.
Absolutely.
Do you know there was something else I wanted to bring up with you? Look at platinum and palladium as well. But before we do that, and this is not a precious metal, I just wanted to throw this at you because we were talking about this earlier with Sudesh, who's a freelance journalist who was in here. I know you saw him as you came into the studio. You know Sudesh. Copper, he brought this up.
All-time high.
All-time high. I know that you know about this. $13,000 a ton for the first time. I know nothing about copper at all. I know it's used in wiring. I know plumbers use it.
Yeah.
I know it has industrial applications.
Yeah.
It's a great colour. But then I would buy a car based on the colour rather. So don't look at me for that sort of stuff. But what did you think when you heard that?
Yeah, look, I've been watching it. I do track it because it impacts silver. Because when copper is mined, you typically get silver as a byproduct.
Okay. Yeah.
You get it with gold. When you're mining gold and mining lead and zinc and so on, you get silver. But copper is the one that is most linked to silver, and so when you look at silver, and I call it the industrial precious metal because it has a lot of industrial features that are linked to copper. And so it has this kind of relationship with copper, which is quite difficult to follow, because if you are a copper miner, life's great because it's an all-time high. So whichever way you look at it, that's fantastic for the copper industry. So when you're doing your accounting, and you're looking at the cost of producing copper and the benefits, you get silver for free. It's for free. You get it anyway.
Okay.
So therefore, how much is the cost of copper production? How much is the cost of silver production within the copper scenario? Actually, it's simply an accounting decision. How are you going to, and that's why difficult to actually say definitively what is the unit cost of producing silver and what is the unit cost of producing copper, because they overlap. But definitely a rising copper price represents rising industrial demand, which represents equally rising demand for silver. So if there's industrial demand in the world, that's great for copper, but equally good for silver.
Common sense correlation there. I'm with you again. And there are worries about the tariffs, President Trump's tariffs. That's spurring stockpiling in the US.
It is.
So international supplies might get obviously going to be short.
No, it's actually a great point that since the tariff tantrums of this 2025 of the summer, definitely there's a lot of stockpiling of key metals going on in the US, there's no doubt. But equally, it's happening in China. So China are stockpiling silver. US is now stockpiling silver. It's a strategic metal. And so there's a lot of, planning for the future and probably planning for global disruption of some kind. We had it with COVID. We had it with Trump.
Yeah, I guess so, actually.
You could have something else in the next 2 years. Whichever whichever world that Donald Trump, President Trump, is involved in, it is the key takeaway is the uncertainty. We really don't know from day to day what we're dealing with.
There's another thing I think we're learning about President Trump is, well, there are many things, but one of the other things is anything that can be mined, he seems to have an upwards
He
effect
does.
on.
He's a
For
businessman.
sure.
I mean, to be fair to President Trump, he is really an excellent businessman. And although he may have had a few, road bumps along the way, it's why was this Venezuela thing done? Now we know it's about crude. And a lot of the geopolitical decisions that are certainly made by America somehow have an economic background to it.
Yeah.
And this one is clearly crude.
All right, then let's move. Sorry, I'm keeping you far too long, Jeff.
No problem.
Platinum fell from a high of 24.43 to a low of 2,200 before ending with a sector-leading loss of 6.4% at 22.54.
Yeah.
This was, I believe, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Platinum looking set to trade between 2,100 2,400.
Yeah, I'd say, look, the wider range is 2,000 on the downside, 2,500 on the upside. Platinum is fundamentally in a shortage.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So any increase in demand, in industrial demand for platinum, has a major impact on the price and the backwardation. So for those people listening who don't know what the word backwardation means in terms of commodities, it's when the spot price is higher than the future price or the forward price, because you have you have because you've got interest rates, you've got lease rates for the metal and lease rates for dollar. When you would normally expect dollar rates to be higher than lease rates for metals, therefore the forward price is higher than spot, normally. If there really isn't any nearby supply, then you have this demand for spot. We need it now. And platinum has been in that backwardation for about 5 years. And it just tells you there's more platinum being consumed than produced. So I don't see any sign of that changing in 2026, likely to get worse.
I just love the word backwardation. I love it when you bring that up. I don't know what it is. It just makes me smile. And makes my day.
But it's interesting, the platinum and palladium, certainly platinum, the main sources of supply, Russia and South Africa number one, then Russia number two. Palladium, same thing.
Right.
So, but with palladium, it's like equal between South Africa and Russia. They're about equal. So the supply side, the countries on the supply side, there's like question marks over them. Obviously, in South Africa, you've got ongoing economic woes. In Russia, we all know the situation with Russia. So two countries that produce the most platinum and palladium are both kind of a bit doubtful in terms of, can you really rely on those supplies?
Well, they have their challenges. Yeah.
They have their challenges.
Yeah.
They do, Tim. And so that, and for platinum, there's only one way. The only way is up.
Right. And palladium?
Palladium, similar. I just find it more difficult with palladium, but similar, but not as kind of frantic. But I liken platinum and silver. They're very, very similar now in terms of supply-demand fundamentals.
Can I just ask you a very general question? Just something that's popped into my head. I was talking with Sudesh, the journalist, earlier this morning, and US markets, very bullish at the moment, very positive start to the year, record territory, really.
Yeah.
With that in mind, with everything else that we've discussed today, if you were to look ahead at the year, and it's really hard to do, but I'm just interested in what you're thinking, the way you approach 2026. How would you characterize the year
Ahead.
ahead?
Bullish. For precious metals.
For precious metals, yeah.
Bullish.
Yeah, bullish. Okay.
Bullish to various extents.
Mm-hmm.
I think definitely bullish for gold. But it doesn't have the same push as silver and platinum. See, I think gold is really a monetary metal.
Yes.
It's really about money.
Yeah.
Silver is 50-50, 50% monetary, 50% industrial. Platinum is different. It's either industrial, cars, electric cars, normal cars, or it's demand from AI and different things. You can just see real demand for platinum, real industrial demand for silver. So they're different drivers, but they point higher, as they're saying. To remind everyone of my expectations, 6,500 for gold. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go for 150 now for silver. I've revised up.
Really, you're revising up? Okay,
revised up.
I just have to mark the occasion with a note in the journal here. US dollars 150. What time is it? It's 10. Okay, fine.
And platinum, I see 3,500.
Okay.
Wouldn't be no shock to see 5,000.
Really?
Would be no shock, but I'm going for 3,500. But beware, 5,000 could be on the radar screens.
Okay, maybe 5,000. All right, then. I have to make a note of these things because
Platinum, palladium.
Palladium?
Yeah. 3,000.
3,000 for palladium. Yeah. All right, then. Okay. All right, Mr. Jeff Rhodes, who is the CEO of Goldstrom Advisory. Palladium, let me just write that down, 3,000. I can't even keep up with you, Jeff, these days. A very happy New Year. It's great to see you.
Happy New Year.
I guess we'll hopefully see you next week.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll do. Brilliant. Jeff Rhodes with us. It's the Morning Drive. This is Mira Business FM. A like, a subscribe, always appreciated wherever you find us, wherever you join us from. You can get in touch across social media or info@mira.fm is the email address. And everything we do is available to listen and or watch again. Find us where you get your podcasts. Search Mira Business FM.